Full-time teaching versus supply teaching. Which one pays more? Well, there's only one way to find out.
There's only one way to find out.
Thank you, Harry. If you're a teacher in the UK right now, you're probably wondering, should I stick to full-time teaching or should I switch to supply? If you are thinking this, you're not alone. With over 40,000 teachers leaving the profession every single year, supply has completely exploded. And the naughty little supply agencies know this and are taking full advantage. So if you're a teacher right now and you want more freedom, you want to earn more per day, and you want your evenings and weekends back, then stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to find out which one pays more and which is going to be beneficial to you as a teacher. Oh, and yes, supply teaching does pay more, but there's a catch. First of all, if you're new to this channel, thank you for hanging around. My name is Dale, International Confidence Coach for Kids, but I used to be a teacher of 12 years teaching science and PE, and I did dabble with supply teaching. But first of all, what are the benefits of being a teacher? There's quite a few, apart from the holidays, obviously. First of all, stability. You have a guaranteed salary. Secondly, sick pay. If you get poorly, you get paid for being off. Pension. If you're a teacher, you get into the teacher's pension scheme. CPD, obviously you get training days for free. And again, like I said before, you get all the holidays off, half term, summer holidays, Christmas and stuff. But there's a catch to that. When you do want to go away and travel on holiday, those holidays are ridiculously expensive. So if they're the benefits, what are the weaknesses? On average, teachers are not sticking to their paid hourly contract, which is anywhere between 32 to 34 hours a week. They're actually doing more. They're actually working anywhere between 50 to 65 hours a week. Unpaid. Those extra hours, unpaid. And within those unpaid work hours, they are doing staff meetings, they are doing marking in the evenings and weekends, sacrificing family times, and they're planning, they're doing report writing, they're doing data entry. Sometimes they have to hold their bladder for the entire day because children keep coming into their room on break, so they can't actually go to the toilet and relieve themselves. The offset pressure is absolutely ridiculous and completely unfair. They're sacrificing personal time to be with their own family, to spend their own time marking books with other people's families or educating and raising other people's families and not their own. And obviously they can't go on holiday with their friends or their other family because they can only have certain holidays at certain times of the year. There is absolutely zero flexibility. The red tape and the bureaucracy around knowing what to teach kids that will actually benefit their lives gets completely shut down. They are only allowed to stick to the boring, mundane, 150-year-old national curriculum. So what are the benefits of supply teaching? The flexibility is incredible. You can work when you want, wherever you want. The work-life balance is far superior than full-time teaching because you go to work and you go home again and you don't do anything. You literally just leave when the bell goes and that's it. You're done for the whole weekend and the evening, which means you can spend more time with the family, obviously. You get paid more because the daily rate and the hours you put in equates to a greater value than what a teacher actually does in their own personal work time. Supply teachers normally get roughly between £180 to £225 per day. In some cases, £250 a day for specialised subjects. And obviously there's less stress, there's no marking, there's no after school meetings, there's no planning, there's no prepping. You just go in, do your thing and get out again. So what are the weaknesses of supply teaching? Well, the obvious is there's no guaranteed income. There's no pension unless you opt for a private one. There's no staff perks like paid sick days or CPD training events. You're kind of dictated to by the agency and they dictate what your income would be for that day. And on occasion when I was a supply teacher and I was in the staff room, I did feel a little bit isolated and disconnected from the people in there, but at the end of the day it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to invite them to my wedding, so it doesn't really matter. But which one gets paid more a day? If we were to look at the teacher's salary of, let's say, M1 grade, which is 30k, but it's more than that, but we'll just do the easy maths, 30k, and they were working 195 days of the year, they should get £154 a day, roughly. What about a supply teacher that is still M1 as well? They should get, for general supply, £140 a day. Long-term supply can lead to £180 a day, and high demand subjects can be about £200 to £250 a day. But we'll just stick to the first one. So obviously the teacher wins. The teacher is getting more money, £14 more effectively, than the supply teacher. However, if you are a teacher watching this, how often have you gone over your contracted hours? Let's just say the average is 55 hours a week. So if a teacher was working 55 hours a week, they will come home with £115 a day before tax. Whereas the supply teacher doesn't have to worry about that because they just go in, do their job and get out again. So here, time is the real currency. Here is a table with a bit more of a detailed breakdown of which is probably better for lifestyle for a teacher compared to a supply teacher. Which one has more family time? The supply teacher. Which one has their evenings and weekends free? The supply teacher. Which one gets better vacation time? The supply teacher, because they can travel in non-peak times. Which one's got less stress? Well, the supply teacher is minimal. Obviously, there's still stress there, but there's no offset, there's no marking, there's no planning. There's no toxic leadership that's getting down your neck bullying you, which is what I went through. So obviously, the supply teaching is looking a little bit more attractive. However, if you were to still be a supply teacher teacher working through the agency all the time for a long time, let's say over 5 years, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. What do I mean by that? Dale, what do you mean? I'm going to explain to you with a table. Check out this yellow and orange table just here. You can see what the supply agency actually pays the teacher versus what they take home versus all the different cover types. The reason why I want to talk about this for is because if you are a teacher and you're fed up with the workload, the toxicity, planning, the marking, the Ofsted, all of that garbage, the red tape, then potentially supply teaching could be for you. However, not long term. And here's what I mean. First of all, sign up to a load of events. If you want to earn more money than what the supply agency is giving you, I want you to follow these 3 steps. The first step is, ironically, get started with an agency. The reason for that is because they can promote you to different schools and you can find the school you prefer the most. They kind of do the marketing for you. It's a good way to get started, but obviously they take a big cut. Also, there's not a lot of control with wages that you get from that supply agency. And they'll give you some BS excuse as well, why they can't afford to pay you 180 as opposed to 200, even though they're taking home exactly the same amount of 250. Step number 2, build relationships with the school. After going into the school for a few months, I built up a really good rapport with the deputy head teachers, the head teachers, the Senkos, mainly all the teachers in the school really. So they liked me. And obviously it's really important to be liked by the kids as well. And I did ask a few schools this, which is a bit naughty, so you need to keep this on the DL. Hi Dale, would you consider paying me directly instead of paying more money to the agency? Oh yes, I would. Cha-ching. Ooh, I'm going to have to contact the agency that you've done that. You might get walked off the board with that agency, and that's fine. Okay, that's the worst case scenario. It's not a big deal. There's literally 50,000 of them in the UK. You're going to be all right. Did you know as well? I'm really glad you think that, because you as a school could save 40 to 70 pounds a day. Well, that sounds cool. Let's just say an average of 60. If you had me 5 days a week, you as a school would save 300 pounds. Whoa. And over a term, that's 1,800 pounds. That sounds amazing. I know, right? And over 3 terms, that could be 5,400 pounds. Whoa. That will give a lot more to the budget. And step number 3, finally, set up a limited company for you, because obviously if you've got all this social proof and people or schools in particular are after you, then you can set up a company. I set up my company, which was Dale Expert PE Teacher. The worst name in the world ever, but it just said exactly what it did on the tin. You invoice the school directly, and obviously you could earn anywhere between 1,000 to 120,000 pounds a week. Times that by 4K a month. That's what I did, but there was always something missing in my life. I really wanted to life coach kids because essentially I can get paid more, I can work when I want, I can travel around the world more freely, and I get to make more impact doing things that I actually know kids would benefit from. So if you are a teacher and you are feeling burnt out with the amount of work that you're doing that you technically shouldn't be doing, and you know that's not going to benefit the kids, then instead of taking a leap completely outside of the education system, why not consider supply teaching? It could be the escape route or the escape stepping stone that you're looking for to do something different in your life, whether it's to be a tutor, whether it's to be a life coach for kids, whether it's to be an assessor or a CBD accreditation body for helping SLT not be toxic. And obviously with supply teaching, as you've heard before, get more money, more flexibility and less stress. If you want to know more about how I did this personally, you can just drop me a comment below saying Kid Coach and I'll show you the way that I did it. Caveat to all of this, I'm not trying to get teachers out of the education system. I know it looks that way. However, I'm just trying to support the amazing teachers that are being taken advantage of to increase their happiness, to still inspire kids. I made more impact as a supply teacher, going into different schools, having fun, talking to the kids, sharing my stories, obviously teaching the content of the lesson, but talking about mindset as well, talking about well-being, talking about confidence. Borderline every single school that I went into, the kids raved about me. I got amazing reviews. The senior leadership team wanted me back, which is what gave me an inlet to say, hi, why don't I just come into your school directly instead of you spending £250 a day on unnecessary agency fees? Now, obviously, if you are a fantastic teacher and you're being treated well, stay. If not, go. Your mental well-being, if not more important than the kids' mental well-being, because you are cultivating our future generation. Anyway, if you like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe and share it with someone that you do like. If you didn't like this video, then share it with someone that you don't like. In the meantime, have a cool day. And if you are a teacher, remember, you are the backbone of our society. Do not be dictated to by a school bell and ignore toxic leadership people. They're horrible and nasty. Have a cool day. Peace out.